Most of us, if we really try and remember, can think of that one childhood friend who stood above the rest. Perhaps you're lucky enough to still know this individual. Maybe as the years progressed, so did your relationship. But for the others, well, maybe you can relate to my story. I had a best friend when I was younger. His name was Michael. We spent hours playing make-believe together, attending sleepovers, and sharing life. But, like most childhood friends, one day we were no longer in the same space, and I didn't have the pleasure of growing older with Michael. What was really strange about Michael was that the reason we didn't grow up together was because he went missing when we were in the 3rd grade. This would have put us at about 9 years old. But it's been 20 plus years since this incident, and yet it feels like it was yesterday. When I close my eyes, I still see his dark eyes and shocked expression, just like the last time I saw him. Childhood friendships come and go, but some outlast even the most dire circumstances. I felt like this was the case, and it killed me. We would have been friends for years, I just know it, and we were inseparable during those early years of our lives. See, my aunt lived next door to my good friend, and every time I'd go to their house during the summer, I'd inevitably spend it with Michael. We'd swim in the pool, spy on people in the park, and eat as many microwavable pizzas as possible. It's just what we did. Then, one night, Michael disappeared. His last words he ever told me were, "Don't tell anyone I'm leaving." What do you do with words like that? And he made me swear to it. Michael was convinced that something bad was coming his way. Why a 9-year-old felt this way, I'm not sure. But he was convinced that someone was trying to get close to him. It all started with his weird incident at the park. There was a nice little park that we'd run to most summer days. We played on the equipment and kicked a soccer ball around occasionally, but our favorite activity was climbing the trees. And this park was chock full of them. One night around 9, we went to the park to climb a tree. It was deserted that night, but we didn't mind. We felt like we had the entire park to ourselves. We must have sat up in that tree for a good hour or so, and then we saw something strange on the other side of the park. There was a small child walking by themselves in the dark, with no parents or any adults that could be in sight. There was a car that was slowly driving next to the park as well, as it was keeping a pace behind the child. Suddenly, the car hit its brakes and someone jumped out. They grabbed the kid and forced him into the car. Without an ounce of hesitation, Michael and I looked at each other. We knew we had to do something. Later that night, we called the cops. We described in detail what we had seen, and the cops were able to track down and find the car that matched our description. But they never found that kid that we saw get forced into the car, and it just kind of went away. When Michael started to get scared, I knew something must be wrong, as he was always the brave one. He used to look at me and say, "You have to take a chance. It doesn't matter if you fail, at least you can say you tried." That was his mindset for everything. He didn't care about failure or what others might think of him. So this was all that more alarming to me when he was so scared he wanted to leave town. I asked him what his plan was, where he'd go, what he'd do, and where he'd stay. He didn't know the answer to any of these. He just knew he had to leave. So, one late summer night, he just left. He told me not to tell anyone that he was going. He said that it'd be better for all of us if he was just gone. I told him I couldn't hold on to a lie for that long, and I didn't sleep that entire night. I just lay in my bed, staring up at the ceiling, wondering how long he'd be gone for. The next morning, the phone calls started coming in. Michael's mom obviously was concerned. I just thought he was having an adventure for a while, but one day, missing turned into 2 and 3, and I really started to get worried. The police discovered a number of notes in Michael's room. These notes were written in crayon and markers, just really juvenile stuff, but they all had threatening messages.
"You shouldn't have called the cops, you little bastard. I watch you sleep. I'll come into your room soon enough. Your mom is kind of pretty. Maybe I'll take her too.
The last note that they found, though, was especially scary, as it simply said,
I'm going to kill you and your little friend. Just wait and see.
Days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. And then the saddest thing happened. We all just believed that he was never coming back. He wasn't really missing anymore, now he was just gone. The notes puzzled police and Michael's parents. They asked me about them, but the only thing I could think of was the car from the park. After searching for it again, they found nothing. This happened so many years ago that it's never left me. Michael went missing in 1994, and he was never heard from again. It's been said that hundreds of thousands of children are reported missing each year. It was especially bad in the 80s and the 90s. I keep thinking that one day I'll run into Michael again. I'll be shopping in the store, or just driving down the street, and I'll see him and I'll just know it's him. I guess that's kind of wishful thinking, though. But I'm not above that kind of thing. I hope and pray that he's okay wherever he is, and that he's getting ready for his life to begin in a great way. I'm still in contact with his mom and dad. They've never forgotten their son, and every year they put out an ad to see if anyone has seen him. No one knows what he looks like now, of course, but they believe that when they see him, they'll know it's him. And I hope they're right. But then something strange happened the other day. I was browsing Facebook, of all places, and I came across a profile. The name was the exact same as my friend. I looked at it thoroughly and all, but I couldn't figure out exactly what I was looking at. He only had 2 pictures on his Facebook. One was a nondescript picture of a house, and the other was a picture from many years ago. The picture looked so familiar. I could tell that it had been cropped because there was just an arm draped over his shoulder. My stomach felt sick, and I knew I'd seen that photo before. I got up and ran towards the photo album. I paged through it, and I found the picture from the profile. It was of me and Michael. That was my arm in the cropped picture. I sent a message to this random person on Facebook, and about 10 minutes later, a message came back my way. All the message said was, "I knew you'd find me someday."